How do you make decisions? Does it come to you very naturally? Very easily? Well, I know with myself, it can be difficult at times for me to make the right decisions. But if you do come up with the right decision every time, then you have the virtue of prudence. Hi there, my name is Sid. I'm a father of 4. I own a small little business and I've learned from them. And I hope to share some of these experiences and lessons with you so that you don't have to go through it yourself, especially in a day and age of information galore. We get bombarded by information from everywhere. Prudence is the first cardinal virtue. It is the mother of all virtues. Prudence is the ability to make the right decisions. If you were an owner of a business, if I'm constantly making wrong decisions, what will that do to my business? Well, I'll be broke very quickly. I'll have no more staff. I'll have no more clients. So it's very important for me to make the right decisions. Now, do I make the right decisions every time and all the time? Definitely not. Believe in me, I make a lot of wrong decisions at times. But my aim is to prevent as many wrong decisions, and hopefully the balance of the right decisions overwhelms the bad decisions and keeps my business afloat and growing. If I'm a soccer player and I'm constantly doing wrong decisions, I'm passing the ball to the other team, I'm scoring my own goals, I am not training efficiently. Now, I'm sure I'm letting my team down. So making the right decisions and knowing when, with who and how and where and with the right intentions is extremely important. And we cannot be temperate or courageous without being prudent first. How do you know if you are being courageous? You might be foolish. There's a difference between courage and foolishness. How do you know you're being temperate? There's a difference between being a temperate person or just over the top, doing nothing, lazy, sloth. So it's very important to know the difference between the good acts and the bad acts. And having the skill to do that is probably the most important skill any of us can have. And just like all the other skills, all the other virtues, for us to achieve them, what we must do is educate ourselves, practice, and rely on God that He'll take care of the rest. But for you to make a prudent decision, you must do them in these 3 easy steps. Step number 1, you collect the information. Step number 2, you consolidate the information. Step number 3, you commit to the decision you've made and you follow it through to the end. I call that the 3 C's. Collect, consolidate, commit. So first is collect. Now, where do you collect this information from? You collect it from people, from documents, from books, from podcasts, from videos, and sometimes from silence. So you speak to people. You speak to people who've been there before you. Speak to a supervisor. Speak to your boss. Speak to your wife, your husband. Speak to people who've been there, who've done it before. And sometimes silence is also important. Taking some time out. Putting a timer on. Shut down everything. In silence, in darkness even, if possible. And just think and contemplate about the thing that you are really thinking about. Giving yourself that break, giving yourself a bit of space can be very beneficial. You can also get some information from books. There are many people who have lived before us and have written on many books about many different topics. It's very unlikely for you to find a topic that has not been written about extensively, a lot. And in this age of information, there is no reason for us not to know things anymore. If you're interested about something, if you have a question, go on the internet, go on YouTube, listen to some podcasts. But then making the right decision with that information is the next step. The next step is consolidate. So you get all the information, but you don't make a decision right there and then. It's just information, collecting data, just bringing all that information in. Then you consolidate it, which means you put it all together. You think about it. You plan it. You decipher it. You consume it all. And then you make a decision from that, which is the right decision to be made, which is a good decision to be made. Which decision would be the virtuous decision, and which decision would be the temperate decision. So after you've put all that information together, you will start to make a decision on what is the right thing, what is the wrong thing, who am I supposed to listen to, who do I not listen to. You put it on the table. Sometimes if it's a big decision, give yourself some space, give yourself some time to actually process it. Sleep on it. Let the brain do its rewiring while you're sleeping, so by the morning, hopefully you have a better idea of what decision to be made. Also for me, part of the consolidation phase is something that I call trust your gut feeling. Now, I don't mean gut feeling as in fear and I'm too scared so I'm just not going to do it. No, that's being a coward. And that's the opposite of being a courageous person. Courage is one of the 4 cardinal virtues. Remember that. And also, you don't want to be, I'll do it later. I'm not doing it right now. I'll do it later. Well, that's being actually slothful, which means lazy. So you don't want to be lazy, but also you don't want to be rush. You don't want to just rush into something without even taking enough time to process what needs to be processed, to give it time to actually think about it. Now, fair enough, there are some decisions that need to be made very quickly. And hopefully, by the time those decisions come up, you've practiced the virtue of prudence enough times that you can make a quick decision without having to take too long. And trust me, for a person that is not very prudent for a very long time, it does get quicker. You start to make decisions, the right decisions, faster. But you must practice with intention, and you will get there. So the consolidating phase can be difficult for many people, especially in this day and age of information overload. It takes prudence to actually collect the correct information and not waste time on information that is noise, the information that's not going to help you or steer you in the wrong direction. I know a lot of these things I'm talking about now, especially the consolidate phase, could be a stretch for some of us. But with practice and repetition, with the intention of making the right decision, God will take care of the rest. He will help you get through it. Just trust in Him and just keep trying to do the right thing. And think about it like this. There's 4 cardinal virtues: prudence, justice, fortitude, and temperance. While you're trying to be prudent, think of the other 3 at the same time. They will help you be prudent. So if you're doing something that's not just, that's going to hurt somebody, that is not for the good for the other person, then maybe we shouldn't be doing it. If you're doing something that's going to be a cowardly act, if you're doing something that's going to make you a coward or make somebody else into a coward, then it's probably not a good act. If you're doing something that is going to not control yourself, like for example getting drunk, if it's going to make you lose yourself and not be able to control what you're doing, or going the other way of doing nothing, being lazy. So to support prudence, you have the other 3 cardinal virtues to support you making the right decisions. When you put all 4 of them together, it can make a difference in helping you be prudent and make the right decision. So now, step number 3, which for me personally is one of my most difficult ones, is committing. So after you make a decision, commit to it the whole way. Yes, that's part of prudence. Commitment is part of prudence. Now, a lot of these things are inside of our heads. One of the virtues is inside your brain and the way you process information. And that's probably the most important one. That's what a lot of the greats say anyhow. So let's practice the virtue of prudence. Let's practice collecting information, the right information. Let's practice consolidating it, thinking about it, in support with the other three virtues to help us make the right decision. And let us also practice committing to that decision that we've made. So many of us make a decision and then never go ahead with it. Just sit there and do nothing. Now I challenge you tomorrow in the morning to practice the cardinal virtue of prudence. I would like you to take 5 minutes out of your morning. As soon as you wake up, get yourself ready for the day. Just spend 5 minutes before you go to work, before you go to your children, wherever you might do first thing in the morning. If you can, spare 5 minutes and take some time to think about one thing you're going to do that day. For example, in my case, I will be going to work. And at work, I have a meeting. Okay, great. So I'm going to practice the virtue of prudence for that meeting. So I will collect the information. So what is the meeting about? Who am I meeting with? What time is it? What documents do I have to have with me? Do I need any documents? How am I going to get there? Just think about all those things. Collect all that information. And then step number 2. Let us consolidate it now. So I do need a booklet. It's at 10:30 a.m. I will be meeting with Mrs. Jones, and I need to have a car so I can get to her house. Great. Now, house, do I have an address? Yep, I got the address. Awesome. Now, let's commit to that plan. So when 10:15 comes and I must leave the office to go visit her, I've already have a plan in place. I've already committed to this plan. Then I will practice either the virtue of courage or temperance, depending on the situation, for me to achieve that plan. And that's kind of how the virtue of prudence works. By being prudent, you will do a virtuous act. At the end of the day, all 4 cardinal virtues work harmoniously together. They cannot be separated, but they all rely on the first mother virtue, prudence. So getting that one right is probably the most important thing you can have. So I'd like to challenge you to put a comment below about how you went with the cardinal virtue of prudence. Was it helpful? Did you find it easy? Or was it hard for you to do? Just remember, if it was hard, it just needs more practice. It'll become natural. That's what virtue is. It's a habit. I'll see you in the next one.